Welcome to The God Vibe. This is a space where you remember what's already true inside of you. You remember the truth of the power and presence of love within. I'm Mazanke, and what I do is help people return to clarity, peace, and power, not by pushing harder, but by coming back into alignment with God. If you've been overthinking, forcing outcomes, or feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Let's get you back into the God vibe. Hi, welcome to the next episode of The God Vibe. I'm your host, Mazanke, and I'm so grateful that you're here with us today. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how your emotions will give you an indication of your connection to God or your disconnection to God. This is something that you can use on a daily basis to make decisions for yourself. Oftentimes, I see my clients struggle with decisions because they're using cognitive abilities to weigh out if this is a good decision or not a good decision. But what I want to tell you is your body knows the truth, not your mind. Your mind will oftentimes tell you you're not good enough, you're not ready, you're not smart enough. Those thoughts are disconnected thoughts. Your body, however, is always going to tell you the truth. And we're going to do a few exercises today to allow you to experience the differences inside your body so that you have a clear understanding of what is true and what is not true for you. So first, we want to talk a little bit about emotions. And just to break it down, the word emotion is just energy in motion. It's just energy in motion. So it has to go somewhere. And where it goes is a really interesting phenomenon. When we experience any type of difficulty, stress, or trauma, that is known as cellular memory. So what that means is that your nervous system adapts to the chronic stress, and it leaves an imprint inside your body whereby that trauma is there, and years later it can come up in a whole different form with none of that trauma, really your body experiencing that trauma, but it is a trigger to the something deeper inside of you, the cellular memory. And so here's what happens when we understand that our cellular memory tells us the truth, where we might be holding some event. It might be a conscious holding, it may be an unconscious holding. Oftentimes it's very unconscious. But when we experience ourselves in that, a current trigger may trigger that old emotion, that old stored emotion inside of your body. And when it does, you have some type of physical sensation, even though it's years away from the trauma. So let me give you a couple of examples that I've witnessed over my 26 and a half years of coaching clients. One, I had a young executive female who was really struggling in her business. She was doing all the right strategies. She was working her tail off. She was putting in the effort and the hours and doing the work in order to generate business. However, she was not getting business. So she hired me in order to kind of help her through to be able to have a breakthrough and get her business going. So what we ended up doing is we ended up doing what I call my proprietary emotional discovery process. And this process is a somatic body process. Somatic just means body. So it's done within the body's wisdom, not in a cognitive talking about it. So I have learned to use the body's wisdom to guide me to where the roadblock of fear is coming up for my clients. And so once we remove and release that roadblock of fear, we use the practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is for the purpose of helping you to get back to the truth. It's not about saying that this event, this trauma that happened, if it was from another person, it's not about saying that that behavior was an acceptable behavior. It is about you returning to your natural state, which is love. Love is who you are. Love means connection, and connection to God feels warm and expansive. Sometimes clients say that they experience a tingling sensation. So love is connection. Love is when you know you're in vibrational harmony with God. When you're in fear, fear can be anything from anger, rage, disappointment, frustration, sadness. Any of those feelings can all be lumped into fear. Those emotions are disconnected emotions. And disconnection, your body will show you, it feels tight, it feels tense, and you can feel that inside your body. You can feel when you are disconnected from God. So let's give this a quick try here, Let's experience it for you so that you can feel the difference in your body. So just as long as you're not driving, if you're driving, you got to keep your eyes open, keep your eyes on the road and focus on the road. But if you are in a comfortable place, just sit down, close your eyes, and take a few nice, deep, cleansing breaths. I'm going to give you two scenarios, okay? So close your eyes and just listen. You're in your house, you're by yourself in your beautiful home, and there's a raging storm outside. There's thunder, there's lightning, the power goes out, and so it's completely dark, and you have no idea where the candles are or where the flashlights are in your house to be able to see. All of a sudden you hear a huge crash in the house. Now just notice what your body feels given that scenario. Just notice it. Notice what your body is feeling when you are given that scenario. Okay, take note of it. If you want to and have a journal, you can write down what your experience is. Now, next we're going to do one more, and I want you to just take a breath, a couple of nice deep cleansing breaths, and I want you to just relax, be open, keep your eyes closed. You're on a beautiful beach. The seagulls are flying around and you can hear the seagulls. You also hear the waves rolling gently up upon the shore. Your feet feels warm in the sand. The sun is shining and your skin feels the warmth of the sun on your skin. You feel a nice gentle breeze to cool you off. Now what I want you to do is I want you to notice the physical sensation in your body. Just notice it. Notice what you are experiencing by those two vastly different scenarios. My intention there was to give you two completely contrasting examples of what your body feels like, first in fear and the physical sensation in your body, and then next in love and what happens there. So I'm going to go back to my client who was experiencing the stress and the difficulty around her business. And what ended up happening is this client's father had passed away when she was 15. She was given zero tools or zero opportunities for her to be able to process the grief that she experienced from that death, from her dad's death. In fact, she was kind of just, after the funeral, said, okay, just go back to school and just act as if everything was like it was before, just your dad is not physically here anymore. So that was very traumatic for her. She actually felt that in her left forearm. Once we released that process, she was able to move through the grief, forgive her dad for leaving her at such a young age, and then she was able to impart her and ground her vibrant vision to her business really thriving. And in just a very short period of time, this particular client was amazed. It wasn't new strategies. It wasn't new, new types of programs or her doing more. It wasn't about her doing more. It was about her letting go of the very roadblock that was preventing her from getting the results that she wanted. Let's talk about another example. This was a client very early on in my coaching career, and he was having abundance issues and couldn't figure out. He was making plenty of money, but he wasn't saving it. He wasn't able to invest it well into his business to help the growth and generation of his investments. And he came to me with this particular issue, and we talked about it. What we found in his emotional discovery process was that his experience when he was a young man, he worked or volunteered within the church, and he used to pass around the basket for donations to the church. And one time he passed around the basket and he actually took some of the money from the basket. And that cellular memory was held deep within his body. He wasn't aware at all that he was holding on to that. Once we release that through self-forgiveness, and I have found a tremendous amount of power in self-forgiveness, once we release that self-forgiveness, what we discovered was his ability to move through that trapped emotion and that cellular memory within him. We were able to move through that very comfortably so that he could forgive himself for that event and be present in today's world, and his investments and his money started to grow from there. So I never know what a client's going to come in with and what is going to come up, and I'm not supposed to, but the body's wisdom of each person that I work with does know. I've also done this in groups. In fact, one woman in St. Louis, in a workshop that I did in St. Louis, I did an emotional discovery process to the group. And her experience was, she thought it was absolutely crazy. She had this experience, this pain in her knee. And so she went to many specialists about this pain in her knee, and she couldn't figure it out, couldn't get help. And so she thought it was nuts that I was kind of taking her into her body, and the entire group. But she was one in particular that came up to me after the event, and she told me of her experience. She said, "Fee, I thought you were crazy. I thought that it was really crazy for you to take me into my body. I went into my knee. I was able to forgive." She didn't even tell me what came up. I was able to forgive whatever my experience was where I was holding cellular memory trauma in my knee. And she goes, "I have been able to move my knee from your very simple 20-minute process. I've been able to move my knee far better than I have in many years." So these are some of the benefits and the values of being self-aware, knowing that if you see an emotional pattern that's a repeated pattern in your life, it could be a repeated pattern of a financial lack pattern, it could be a repeated pattern of betrayal, it could be a repeated pattern of depression or anxiety. Whatever that repeated pattern is, it's not there to harm you. That repeated pattern of whatever emotion you are experiencing is actually there to support you. It's there to serve you. It's there to get your attention, saying, "Hey, I'm here. Let's introspect, take a look inside, and be able to move effectively through that using the power of forgiveness and then using your vibrant vision to ground and anchor what it is that you would love in your life. So these are just a handful of experiences that I've had with people. And in fact, in 2018, I had the great privilege of going to Las Vegas to a conference that was run by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And Dr. Nelson said much of our suffering is due to negative emotional energies that have become trapped within us. Much of our suffering is that. And so one of the very important reasons why I use the emotional discovery process with all of my clients and bringing it to groups as well, one of the very important reasons is because when we can let go of fear, that is disconnection. When we can let go of that disconnected energy and forgive it, returning ourselves to truth, we actually connect to love. Then we ground and anchor our vibrant vision, and we're in a much higher frequency. We are actually experiencing ourselves as and in the God vibe. That is the feeling sensation of calm confidence, peace, joy, love, all of the things that really increase and really improve our frequency. So I wanted to share this message with you today, to not be afraid of your emotions, but rather look at them as clues for you, especially if you are experiencing a pattern of emotions within your world, your inner world. It's something that can be rectified very easily. Doesn't have to take years and years of talking about it. It can be done very quickly. One CEO, in fact, was having writer's block. This was in 2014. He was having writer's block, and he asked me to come to his conference, which was held downtown Chicago. And so I did, and I worked with him about his writer's block. And he had a severe case of imposter syndrome. And it all pointed back to when he was a young boy, probably 8 years old, and he was playing baseball, and he really didn't have the confidence, and he didn't feel like he deserved to be on that baseball field with all of his other teammates. We removed that roadblock of fear, opened him up, and then all of a sudden, the ideas, once he got very clear about what he wanted the audience to feel and what he wanted the audience to experience from his message, the ideas just flowed. And I got text messages from many of the people in that audience saying that that was one of the best messages that he had ever delivered up till that point. So you see, there's so much value in us taking time to explore our emotions. Now, here's the great news. As I'm developing this podcast, one of the gifts that I want to offer all of our audience members is the opportunity to apply for an emotional discovery process that we do here on the podcast, so that other people can see what an emotional discovery process is, how easy and simple it can be. It does bring up emotions. If there's trapped emotions, you're going to feel those trapped emotions, but that is the part of the release and the letting go process of the trapped emotions. And so on our website, which is www.directconnectcoaching.co, that's C-O, directconnectcoaching.co, we have a form for you to complete if you would like to volunteer. I am offering emotional discovery processes for people as part of this podcast, so that people can experience their own freedom from doing an emotional discovery process. And you have to sign a consent form, because this will be shared with other audience members. But the purpose of sharing this with other audience members is so that you can be a catalyst or an inspiration to others to be able to heal what is trapped within themselves, what their cellular memory is holding. So if this resonates with you and if you would like to be considered an applicant, please go to the website, fill out the application, and we will take a look at all of the applicants and perhaps ask you a few qualifying questions so that you can help us to help it serve healing across the globe. So I wish you so much joy today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. If something in this episode landed for you, just notice that. You don't need to rush to fix anything. Awareness is where everything begins. And if you're ready to go deeper, not just hearing this, but actually living it, I offer a few ways to work together. You can find those in the show notes. Until next time, stay connected to your body, trust what you feel, and come back to the God Vibe.